Hello again, YouTube. All right, so I am stacking up some videos, and I'm just going to release this one a little bit later on. The sun finally decided to show it back up, so hopefully I'm all well lit. So this is the second song of the three that I was talking about that's going to break the album order that we were doing things, so we can focus more on the chronological way that we were doing things. So we'll have one more song after this, and then we'll finish out the album by doing that last song and then do an album review and then kind of be back on track for doing things chronologically. So I've already kind of gone over that. I just want to keep reiterating it so people aren't confused and be like, wait, where are we on a new album or what? All that stuff. So this one was another one that didn't end up making the album. I'm going to go more into it later on, but was written earlier than some of the other album stuff. So we're going to play the song, get into the stuff afterwards. This one is called Trouble. Here we go. Every day when I'm walking by, people have to stop and cross the street. All they do is take one look at me. Yeah, and then they see they call me Blue-Eyed Devil. That name suits me well. And if you ever want to know how much, boy, I'll send you straight to hell. I'm singing. They call me Trouble. They call me Bad Luck. And you better stay away unless you want me ruin your day. Every night on them city streets, when everybody's asleep, I'm out there hunting, I'm just on the prowl. Look for the tail that's gonna make me howl. I saw her sneaking on by me, and I just couldn't leave it be. Walked up to try to make that woman mine. Here's what she said to me, she's singing. They call you Trouble. They call you Bad Luck. And you better stay away unless you want me to ruin your day. They call me Trouble. They call me Bad Luck. And you better stay away unless you want to ruin your day. Whew. Okay. Might redo this one. We'll see. I just want to get it on record because if I don't, then I guess I found this passable. So let's talk about the song a little bit. I'm going to be upfront with everybody. This is the second song where I just could not remember the fucking lyrics. I remember the very first part, and I remember half of the second part, but the every night on the city streets when everybody's asleep, I couldn't remember it for the life of me, and I had to go digging around for one of the only recordings I had of it. And it took me like half an hour of going through all my stuff. So I'm amazed that as soon as I heard it, I remembered it. So that's what happens when you write so many songs and you don't do as much stuff with them or you don't perform them in a while. You will forget these things, you know. So yeah, the song. I wrote this shortly after I wrote the last song that I did, Gots to Get. So Trouble was right about after Bright Lights Big City, would have been finished, and we would have been seriously talking about recording an album. The lyrics wouldn't have been finished until a little bit later, but we had been playing it and we had been messing around with it. And I actually have a very early recording where I sent a video or an audio clip to my drummer and my bassist singing the very first part. And that's dated back to about a month before our radio broadcast, which was in October. So we're kind of looking just after Bright Lights Big City was finished, right around when Gots to Get was being played often. And now we kind of have this song that's right before we seriously talk about our album. Sorry, I got mustache hair in my tongue. So the song itself, right? I came up with this one day when I was just messing around. This is going to be such a stupid background story for it, but that's why we do these videos, right? Because we get our inspiration from the weirdest things. So my buddy Tyler was a really huge Uncharted fan. And I remember this is, I think, Uncharted 3. I can't remember. But it was around the time period that game was coming out. He pre-ordered the special edition. You got a belt buckle. The belt buckle had a horseshoe on it. And he never wore belts. And he's just like, hey, you're always wearing belts. So, do you want this? And I used to wear it from time to time. And I used to like to stand out and be different. And I used to wear the horseshoe upside down. That's probably why I have the absolute worst luck in my entire life. Because I did that frequently. But all that aside, I remember someone asked me about it. I can't remember if it was at a show, but I know it was something band related. Maybe it wasn't a show we were playing, but maybe it was time when we were all hanging out. And I'm just like, oh, because I'm bad luck. And I remember I'm pretty sure it was my bassist, but it could have been my drummer. One of them said, I'd be like, yeah, he's bad luck and he's trouble. And I'm just like, subconscious light bulb. I'm like, okay, I can use that. I can do something with that. So a little while after, probably less than a month, because I know we practiced a couple of times before I showed this song, I basically came up with this. I remember this is one of the first times, this is going to be musically relevant. This is one of the first times where I actually wrote the progression before I solidified the lyrics. So if you guys remember what I was talking about beforehand, now, my musical progress is I usually write the music and then I write the lyrics after. But before, for a long time, I used to write the lyrics first and then put music to that. So this was the first time where I kind of had a shift where I'm just like, they call me trouble, they call me bad luck. I was kind of like working it all together. So I had the simple progression. I remember I was originally going to write the song in B, but I already got to get, and I'm like, I don't want to reuse the same thing. So I literally just took the B and shifted it up, and now we're in a C sharp. What is that? B, C. Yeah, so we're in C sharp. And I just thought it was like pretty natural to just kind of keep the power chord shape, keep bringing it up. And then, so we talk about the lyrics themselves, right? So when my person, whether it was my drummer or my bassist, whenever they talked about like me being trouble, I remember my high school career, right? So I had a bad reputation for quite a lot of reasons, but for the most part, like it was kind of a struggle to get away from that during my high school career. It wasn't really until my senior year where people were just like, oh, you're actually not that bad of a guy. Like you're kind of chill and everything. And I used to run into people when I lived in my hometown who after graduated who would like see me, and like I actually hung out with a lot more people out of high school than when I was in high school. So I always kind of had this reputation, and I just kind of always think back about how people would like say that I'm, or not say, but like just think that he's trouble. And I mean, you're probably looking at me and be like, who is this fucking guy and why is he trouble? Well, like I said, I had a bad reputation for a variety of reasons, and one day I'll probably talk about him and shit. But so I'm thinking about those lyrics. This is my my second year out of high school at this point that I wrote this. So every day when I'm walking by, people have to stop across the street. All they do is take one look at me and then they see. And that's kind of true. There would be times where I'd be walking and I'd see some familiar faces and I'd literally see them cross the street. I'm just like, okay. Then I remember I was reading about blues and how white people kind of appropriated it, and there ended up becoming a genre called blue-eyed Blue-Eyed Soul or something like that, and it was basically poking fun at white people who just like kind of ended up taking over the genre. And I know, black culture, black slang at that time was like, the whiteys are the devil, white devil, and I just kind of combined the two. They call me Blue-Eyed Devil, and that name does suit me well. If you ever want to know how much, boy, I'll send you straight to hell. Kind of implying that, like, don't fuck with me. And then we get into solidifying the chorus. They call me trouble, they call me bad luck, and you better stay away unless you want me to ruin your day. Kind of a mouthful to all like put together at that ending thing, but I still like doing it. The other verse, I remember, and it's so crazy. I remember being proud of writing every night on the city streets when everyone's asleep. I'm out there hunting, I'm on the prowl, looking for the tail that's going to make me howl. I remember I was so proud of that, and yet I couldn't remember that part. And then the next part about the woman. I saw her sneaking on by me, couldn't just let it be. Walked up to try to make that woman mine. Here's what she said to me: they call you trouble. And that's kind of taking the inspiration of the whole song, where my friend was saying that, or I said I was bad luck, my friend said I was trouble. And then I remember she was just like, they call you trouble. Like, sarcastically, like, who is this guy? So I just remember kind of like her perspective of it. And it was some bartender I think we went to school with. If I didn't go to, I don't know if she was in my grade or what, but it was some bartender that one of us knew. I don't know if she was in our grade or my basis was a grade above me, so maybe it was in her grade. I don't remember. But yeah, that's where all that came from, right? So the song, very simplistic, very easy. Started playing it shortly after we integrated Gots to get into our set list. I just needed to finish the lyrics. And if you guys know anything about what I've been talking about before, this is continuing the trend of 2 verses, 2 choruses, calling it a day. So I never ended up coming up with a third verse. Technically, there is a third verse that immediately follows the second verse, but there's no chorus that goes into it. And I like what I did this time, because I kind of did a chorus in the beginning without actually singing it. If we look back on the line, every day when I'm walking by, people stop across the street, all they do is take one look at me, and then they see, and then I don't sing that chorus. I just do that progression. I liked that. I thought that was something different at the time, kind of like a prelude of what people are going to expect. And we always used to get some good live feedback from how we perform that song, and I'll get to that in a second. So I ended up finishing the lyrics, couldn't really come up with anything else, and just decided like, okay, this is it. We'll have 3 choruses. We'll kind of change it up. I have a chorus where I don't sing, a chorus I sing, a chorus I sing, and then we'll have a solo, and then another chorus to kind of round it all out. And that's how we structured the song, and that's how we ended up doing it. Some notes about the song. I really liked what my bass player did on this, and I guess I can kind of show you because it was just this really nice rhythm. And then he would do that over and over again. And my drummer used to have this really nice beat. He would do this like tom thing. It's like snare, snare. It would be like this do do pa do 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 pa, kind of like this weird like jungle kind of beat thing. Really loved it. For such a simple song. Live, we used to get some good feedback on it because it was something different. It was still bluesy, but I remember someone kind of called it like swamp blues because it was like a little bit dirtier, a little bit grittier than some of the normal blues you'd hear. And we get hard on that chorus. I mean, like I used to play with a distortion pedal, usually not too much. I usually just use my amp's normal distortion. And kind of had like an overdriven sound most of the time. But this was one of the songs, besides when I would solo, where I would stomp that fucking distortion and that chorus would just wow, 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 wow. It'd be like really loud, really fucking dirty. And I remember for a while, this was kind of like our catchphrase song. We had a couple of people who would be like, trouble, like call you trouble or shit like that. So that was kind of fun. Looking back now, I think this would be a good song to get audience engagement. Have them sing the chorus. They call me trouble. they call me bad luck, you know, kind of like have the people kind of like say the thing, and then I finish with and you better stay away unless you want me to ruin your day, kind of thing. I think that would have gone over really well had we gotten a little bit bigger and people started remembering or recognizing these songs. But yeah, our live reception was pretty good on it, especially because we paired this with Gots to Get. We were anytime that we added a song to our set list, we basically just immediately went into it as if it was like a normal thing. Like, oh, hey, you've seen us before? Cool. Here's brand new stuff that we're not even acknowledging. And you just think, oh, you've always had these songs, huh? And then if you've never seen us before, you're just blown away by the fact that we have so many originals in such a short period of time. And that's what I liked about it, because, you know, I don't really need to bring attention to new songs. I just wanted us to have songs that were originals and just get rid of all the covers that we kind of had to do in the beginning. And so when we had a good song like Gots to Get, and then we flowed into this song right after, this would have been I was thinking about this at the time, this would have been another single idea, kind of carrying Miss the Train Blues into Tease to Please. And then for our second album, which I'll start going on to now, of why this wasn't on my album, we would have done Gots to Get as our starting song, into Trouble as our second song. That's how I was originally going to structure my second album. So what I had mentioned before with Gots to Get and some prior videos is that I didn't put this song on my album because I was starting to prepare for my next real album. The album that I ended up putting out was more of an EP, more of a demo to showcase to both labels and other musicians to kind of get me on the radar. And it was still something for fans to listen to and, you know, buy and support and help us out. It was kind of like a bit of everything, a bit of a grab bag. The next album after would have been our first real album. But I guess if we're speaking in a chronological sense, this would have been my second album, because even though we showcased it as an EP, it still had about 6-7 songs and could have stood on its own. This next album was going to be about this new era, this harder, more refined, more musically capable group who had been together and like really had an idea of what our sound was going to be. And looking back now, how I would treat this is I would combine the two into one super album, where you have the A side being the early years, kind of picking up some momentum. Or not even the early years, the early era, the first 3 to 4 months we were together, having all of the songs that I've been showing you guys with the videos here with my album. And then the B-side, which would have broken some of the tropes of how the B-side usually the worser songs. The B-side would have actually been the better side. Kind of see what I did there, B-side better. And would have started with Gots to Get, Trouble, and then some of the other songs that I'm going to continue showing you guys in a little bit. But I didn't think this song could stand on its own without being attached to Gots to Get. Even though I thought this was a good song to play, a good little jam song, it's a short song, and there's nothing to really finish it. I used to solo probably about half of the length of this song just to stretch it out. I think on record it's maybe like 2.5, 2:45, something like that, without a solo. So with a solo, we're at like just over 3 minutes. So to me, that was never really a reason. That was a main reason to never really put that on an album. And if I did put it on an album, it was always going to be a follow, kind of like Miss the Train, Tease to Please. I thought those two really went well together, and I felt the same way with Gots to Get into this one. I decided I wasn't going to actually do that this time around. I was going to start the album with a heavy song that I'm going to do later on. It's called Sucker for Sex. It's probably going to be the first song I do after we finish our album and do our album review, because that was the first song I wrote for the second album. But we're not there yet. We're still working on it. Gots to Get would have been the second song. This would have been the third song. So, yeah, because of that, didn't really get released anywhere. I do have a couple of recordings simply because we were trying to work on it and kind of get it into our thing. And then I recorded it for my acoustic album, which I will talk about at some point when we get there, chronologically speaking. But yeah, so live, we had a pretty good reception because we stacked it with Gots to Get. Can't ever really say how it was without it, because unfortunately I never didn't have it partnered with Gots to Get. It was always Gots to Get into the song. Unless my bassist or my drummer reaches out to me and tells me otherwise, that's what I remember. Miss the Train Blues and Tease to Please, I definitely know a handful of times I just did Tease to Please separate of Miss the Train Blues, and sometimes I even flipped it. I would do Tease to Please, then Miss the Train Blues. This is not the case for this. This song always followed Gots to Get. Even on my acoustic album, it was Gots to Get, and then this song was immediately after. So no album response because it wasn't on anything, and that's about it. It's a song that I enjoy, and I think could be on its own now, but to me, it's always going to be the B-side to Gots to Get, and I'm okay with that because I like this song. It reminds me of high school and the reputation that you get, and then you look at the person that it's coming from, and like you people used to like not like you or have a problem with you, like it's laughable to me. So yeah, I'm probably gonna do the other song in this time frame and then release it later on. We'll see. If not, we just have one more song to do until we finish our album by doing that last song, then the album review, and then we'll start with our second album and continue on things in a bit more chronological track. So stick around, keep your ears open. I'll be seeing you.